The observation squadron of the Tactical Aviation Wing is equipment intensive and provides a unique form of battlefield aerial support. Normally, 3 squadrons are deployed under command of the brigades, with the remaining squadron employed on division tasks, primarily in support of the Division Reconnaissance Regiment, artillery units, and the staff. The principal missions of the observation squadron are to obtain and report tactical information on the enemy and on the terrain, provide command, communications, and liaison support, and provide fire control support.
Check, clear dry.
The observation squadron is organized into a headquarters, 2 identical observation flights, each equipped with 8 light helicopters, a servicing flight, and an administrative flight. Each squadron is capable of deploying as a self-sufficient unit and carries a 3-day basic load of combat supplies, including aviation fuel, 15 days of land equipment repair parts, and a 30 days supply of helicopter spares. The squadron headquarters is comprised of the personnel and equipment to command its flights. The 2 aircraft flights are organized with their own aircrew, aircraft, and support resources to permit sustained operations. One of the flights is designated as the alternate squadron headquarters. The servicing flight has the personnel and support equipment to conduct first-line aircraft maintenance activities, such as servicing, forward refueling, loading weapons, supplementary inspections, and on-site corrective maintenance. The administrative flight provides the first-line medical, supply, messing, and transport support, as well as vehicle and equipment repair facilities. Communications are vital to the effective operation of the squadron, as its flights are normally dispersed throughout the brigade area. The squadron joins several radio nets, such as the brigade, wing, and supported unit nets. It also establishes its own squadron command net. The squadron is connected to the area trunk system and also uses any lines established by the brigade headquarters and signal squadron. A squadron liaison officer will be employed to coordinate operations with a unit or formation headquarters.
12 Alpha 706, 12 Alpha 706, this is Egger.
Flight liaison officers join supported elements of combat arms units. These liaison officers are the specialist aviation advisors to their assigned formations and assist with the coordination of aviation operations.
Message has been passed. En route.
The squadron is located in the rear of the brigade area, with its observation flights forward. It can operate elements for a short period of time through a forward tactical base to maintain the tempo of operations. These forward deployments place increased demands on the squadron's command and control, personnel, and material resources. The squadron subunits can easily deploy to conform to the ground and to the available concealment, whether operating from a rearward location or when tactically dispersed in a brigade area. It can camouflage its ground equipment, but it only has a limited capability to hide its aircraft. For tactical reasons, this is often limited to covering windscreens and parking the aircraft along tree lines or beside buildings. The squadron is capable of providing its own local defense, but cannot adequately secure its landing zones against enemy fire. Elements operating in the forward area are on a 30 minutes notice to move. This period is usually increased to 2 hours for flights operating in the brigade administrative area. The observation squadron has limitations which must be considered in any tasking. Its aircraft are not armored and are susceptible to damage by enemy fire. It can operate for long periods of intense activity. However, continuous flying at maximum rates can rapidly cause severe aircrew fatigue. Its flight capabilities are reduced by adverse weather conditions, such as high winds, icing, thunderstorms, reduced visibility, heavy precipitation, and blowing snow. Ongoing maintenance must be conducted on aircraft to keep them operational, and tactical operations at night are severely limited without night vision aids. To complete their assigned missions, observation helicopters rely on speed, stealth, terrain, and tactics. Tactics are based on drills and procedures applicable to the tasks that might be assigned. When flying at or near the forward line-owned troops, the aircrew will generally rely on nap-of-the-earth flight to enhance survivability. Here, the helicopters fly as close to the Earth's surface as vegetation and obstacles will permit, using ground to optimize concealment and to remain masked from enemy direct-fire weapons. Nap-of-the-earth flight involves vertical and tactical takeoffs, evasive and accelerating maneuvers, and concealed approaches and departures. The pilot minimizes contrast with the terrain and uses shadows and unpredictable routes within a pre-planned corridor that remains oriented along the general axis of movement to gain the maximum advantage from the available concealment. During the battle, the squadron can be called upon to perform reconnaissance, observation, pathfinder, fire direction, communications assistance, radiation and chemical monitoring and survey, aerial photography, traffic control, and picket tasks. During a reconnaissance mission, the basic working element is a section of 2 light helicopters. These operate independently or directly in support of armored reconnaissance elements, where they support the patrol commander by watching obstacles, observing on the flanks, reporting enemy contacts, and by conducting picket operations. When so employed, a flight liaison officer, complete with communications, would be provided to the supported reconnaissance element. The best results are gained when the mix of helicopters and reconnaissance vehicles is matched to the mission. The most common grouping is a reconnaissance troop with a helicopter section. Additional helicopters might be assigned when light opposition is expected, when speed is of the essence, or if the terrain is impassable to wheeled or tracked vehicles. Having been briefed by flight operations on the details of the mission, the first section on task meets with the troop leader to verify information and ensure that the recce trace or overlay and the associated coordinating instructions, such as report lines, junction and reference points, timings, etc., are compatible, procedures and drills are understood, the latest enemy and friendly situation reports are on hand, the probable tasks are fully explained, and fire support is coordinated. A reconnaissance mission can involve route, area, or point reconnaissance techniques. Route reconnaissance obtains information which could affect movement on a route, on obstacles, on the enemy, and on adjacent terrain. Normally, this reconnaissance is done by an air-ground element operating as a team. Area reconnaissance is a directed effort to obtain information on all routes, type of ground, and enemy forces in a given corridor. Here, observation helicopters, using route reconnaissance procedures, move to the search area, bypassing enemy positions. Once in the area, the crew checks for bypass routes, provides early warning of enemy movement on the flanks, or positions themselves to observe movement into or out of the area. The flight or section can also be tasked to conduct point reconnaissance. This involves the gathering of information on routes, ground, and enemy in the immediate vicinity of specific points of interest, such as towns, bridges, and crossing sites. Point reconnaissance is conducted using a combination of route and area techniques. As part of a guard or screen, observation helicopters would be employed to provide information on enemy movement. Their flight routes would take into consideration areas of tactical interest, areas not covered by ground observation, and likely avenues of enemy approach. Pathfinder tasks involve reconnaissance, landing zone identification and marking, and terminal guidance of assault helicopters. Observation helicopters can be employed in the direction and control of indirect fire. An airborne observation post provides an optimum view of the battlefield, by day and by night. They assist with the execution of fire plans, the provision of general battlefield surveillance, and the engagement of targets of opportunity.
Capitaine Murphy va passer les fréquences après. Mais ce qu'ils veulent, il y a deux gros points critiques.
While operating as a forward air controller, the pilot or observer verbally guides sorties onto targets. This is accomplished by their own white phosphorus rockets, reference delineation, smoke from artillery or mortars, or by using prominent ground features. Communications assistance includes limited line laying, radio rebroadcast, and acting as an emergency replacement for a critical outstation.
0, over.
Observation helicopters can be used for chemical and radiation survey. This employment, while important, diverts them from their primary missions. It may also take a considerable amount of time to decontaminate the helicopters on completion of the mission. The squadron possesses handheld aerial cameras and portable videotape cameras, which are operated by the observer. The squadron's equipment also includes a photo processing van. The observation helicopter, with its mobility and broad field of view, is ideal for employment on traffic control duties. It is capable of providing fast and accurate information regarding traffic density, speed, bottlenecks, and alternate routes. A helicopter section can be usefully employed to picket bypassed enemy troop locations, remaining until it is relieved by follow-up ground forces. Here, they watch over the locations, reporting any movement or other threatening activity.
Friendly is 500 meters south. Open left.
This task is normally conducted in conjunction with a reconnaissance task or rear area security operation. The squadron can also fly missions in support of attack helicopter, rear area security, air mobile, and fighting in built-up areas operations. Even though the Wing Attack Squadron has its own integral observation helicopters, for a major operation, others could be placed in support and tasked with liaison, coordination, observation, and reconnaissance. Normally, the brigade-assigned observation squadron would produce an attack helicopter terrain analysis and coordination trace for any operation within its boundaries. When employed in conjunction with rear area security operations, observation helicopters form part of a force based on the Division Reconnaissance Regiment or on a mechanized infantry battalion. The aircraft provide aerial reconnaissance of routes, including main supply routes, and carry out surveillance on likely enemy avenues of approach and potential landing and drop zones. They can also call for and adjust artillery fire and direct close air support missions. During air mobile operations, they can recce routes and landing zones, perform flank surveillance, insert ground pathfinder teams, provide terminal guidance of lift helicopters in the forward area, identify and mark the landing zones, conduct radio rebroadcast operations, and provide fire support coordination. Urban warfare is predominantly an infantry battle. Despite the observation helicopter's vulnerability during flight in urban areas, it may be of assistance in FIBUA operations, in the surveillance of suspected or known enemy strongpoints, in flank surveillance on the periphery of cities or towns, in control of indirect fire, and in the acquisition of targets for tactical air and attack helicopter missions. In addition, its flight duties can include command and liaison, patrol insertion, and, in an emergency, casualty evacuation flights of walking wounded. Command and liaison missions provide commanders at all levels with the means of rapid transit, speeding up the reconnaissance of defensive positions and killing zones, thereby reducing the time required for battle procedure. They can also be used for the delivery of documents, fire plans, traces, VIPs, etc., and passage of orders during periods of radio silence. Helicopters can also be used to transport small patrols to and from points of tactical interest, which are normally inaccessible to vehicles. Emergency casualty evacuation can be provided for walking wounded. Observation helicopters can also help coordinate casualty evacuation missions flown by the Corps Ambulance Squadron helicopters. Advanced observation tasks can be accomplished using special equipment for target acquisition and combat intelligence gathering. The observation squadron, with its ability to perform reconnaissance, adjust indirect fire, support attack helicopter operations, shorten battle procedure, and improve communications, is a special weapon in the land force battle. The inherent flexibility of the squadron allows the land force commander to quickly react to unforeseen developments, and it functions as a key player in the land battle.